Let's talk about life post-wedding. Has the fact that your sister now has taken on this enormous role, not only as a mom, but in her role with the royal family, has it changed your relationship?
At 41, Pippa Middleton has finally shattered the picture-perfect silence surrounding her fairy tale life, revealing a truth so unexpected that even seasoned royal watchers are stunned. For more than a decade, the world saw her as the flawless sister of the Princess of Wales, glowing at charity galas, gliding through Wimbledon's royal box, and beaming beside her hedge fund magnate husband, James Matthews. Yet behind every polished photo and elegant gown, quiet fractures spread like hairline cracks in fine china. Why would a woman who seemed to have everything, wealth, status, and a storybook wedding, walk away from the life most people only dream about? And why speak up now? After years of graceful silence, tonight we peel back the layers of a marriage that looked unshakable from the outside, but was eroding from within. From the paparazzi flashbulbs that never stopped, to the whispered family tensions no one dared report, to the single choice that forced Pippa to abandon the perfection she'd defended for so long. This is the secret history the tabloids missed. Stay with us, because each twist in Pippa's journey exposes a new shock, and the final revelation just might change the way you see the entire royal orbit. Long before flashbulbs trailed her every move, Philippa Charlotte Middleton was just Pip from Bucklebury, a leafy English village where bicycles outnumber bodyguards. Her parents, Michael and Carol, turned a modest party supply idea into a thriving mail-order empire, teaching their 3 children that success came from grit, not gilded bloodlines. Saturdays meant muddy football pitches, not palace courtyards, and the Middleton sisters learned to mix charm with industriousness because there was no inherited title to fall back on. That ordinary rhythm exploded on 29th April 2011. As Kate glided toward Westminster Abbey, Pippa stepped out of the bridal Rolls-Royce in a sleek, cap-sleeved white gown, and the internet gasped. Within hours, searches for Kate's sister in white dress eclipsed royal wedding headlines, and a once anonymous maid of honor became the year's surprise fashion muse. Designers dissected her silhouette, tabloids christened her royal hotness, and Bucklebury's quiet lanes filled with camera vans hunting the next candid shot. Overnight, Pippa learned that fame doesn't knock politely. It kicks the door off its hinges and rearranges the furniture while you're still greeting guests. The viral moment was electric, but it came with a hidden price tag that wouldn't surface until the camera flashes dim. Because when the world decides you're its new obsession, it doesn't let go easily. And the cost of that relentless attention would define the next chapter of Pippa's life. But the glare of sudden stardom was only the first crack. What came next cut far deeper. Fame's first blow landed like a camera flash, bright, flattering, and gone in an instant. The second blow lingered. In 2012, just 1 year after her viral debut, Pippa found herself squeezed into the backseat of a friend's soft top in Paris when that friend, trying to amuse the paparazzi, flashed a toy pistol at trailing photographers. The tabloids treated the stunt like a royal crime. Overnight, headlines screamed that Pippa was partying with gun-waving playboys. She hadn't touched the prop, yet her name alone sold the scandal. Then came the yacht photos. A telephoto lens captured her on a private family holiday, sunbathing in what most would call an ordinary bikini. Editors splashed the shots across European tabloids, accompanied by snarky captions comparing her to the Duchess of Cambridge. The Middletons sued, and they won. But winning didn't erase the feeling of being hunted. In a rare admission years later, Pippa confessed she'd felt publicly bullied, a phrase that slipped past her usual composure and hinted at deeper wounds. Privacy evaporated one relationship at a time. Old flame Alex Loudon, a steady former cricketer, retreated under the glare. Next came Nico Jackson, a dashing stockbroker whose every dinner date with Pippa drew flashbulbs like moths to a street lamp. Commentators framed her love life as a competitive sport. Who would tame her royal hotness? Each split spawned its own theory, all of them louder than the quiet truth that constant surveillance smothers romance. Stardom had promised diamonds and gala invites. Instead, it delivered lawsuits, panic attacks in car parks, and the unnerving sense that every stranger already knew her middle name. Bucklebury's Pip was gone, replaced by a headline commodity, and the transformation wasn't reversible. Yet, even in that blinding spotlight, a surprising figure emerged from the shadows, one who seemed immune to cameras and whose calm would rewrite Pippa's future. If paparazzi chaos was oxygen to London's gossip circuit, James Matthews was pure carbon dioxide, calm, heavy, and determined to smother the blaze. Heir to Eden Rock, the ultra-luxury St. Bart's resort where he first crossed paths with Pippa in 2007, James made his fortune steering a hedge fund, not courting headlines. Their early encounters were sun-splashed but low-key. The press barely noticed. Only in late 2015, After Pippa's split from Nico Jackson, did cameras finally capture the quietly rekindled romance? Opposites attract, until wedding bells ring loud enough to reveal the contrast. On the 20th of May 2017, Pippa walked down the aisle at St. Mark's Church in Englefield wearing a custom Giles Deacon lace gown that cost more than most starter homes. The guest list was studded with royals, society titans, and a discreet scattering of hedge fund billionaires. Estimates pegged the celebration at up to £800,000. Champagne flowed, a fly past of vintage Spitfires roared overhead, and a glass-topped marquee the size of a tennis court sprang up for the afterparty. Yet amid the confetti, sharp-eyed insiders noticed the first tension lines. Where Pippa laughed easily with society friends and posed for an obligatory Vogue spread, James lingered at the edge of group photos, shoulders angled away from lenses. She relished the choreography of public life, charity runs, chic luncheons, Wimbledon's royal box, while he preferred private clubs where phones sat locked in pouches. When reporters called him the camera-shy millionaire, he took it as a compliment. Pippa read it as a warning. Still, newlywed glow masked the mismatch for a while. In the honeymoon, months that followed, their social calendars looked synchronized, but each appearance felt like compromise. James tolerated flashbulbs. Pippa curtailed interviews. Friends whispered that life inside their West London townhouse resembled a polite negotiation. One wing craved silence, the other thrived on buzz. The truce held until small disagreements over privacy, scheduling, and press requests snowballed into the first undeniable cracks, and those cracks would soon widen, exposing fault lines no designer gown could hide. When James sought planning approval this spring to turn part of Bucklebury Farm into a boutique nursery, locals applauded, until West Berkshire Council's road safety team stamped the scheme unviable on 24th April 2025, warning the single-track lane would choke with school-run traffic. The headline wasn't fatal to the project, but it blasted fresh stress into a marriage already running on fumes. Reporters camped outside the farmhouse, drones buzzed overhead, and the couple's differing instincts resurfaced. James vanished behind locked gates, while Pippa forced a smile at village fates. The strain showed in their social calendar. In London, friends quietly clocked the new pattern. She glided into charity dinners alone. He slipped into Mayfair's hush-hush dining clubs without her. YouTube gossip channels seized on every missed joint appearance, spinning theories of a trial separation that racked up millions of views in days. Even Pippa's wardrobe began speaking for her. Out went the bold florals and head-turning millinery. In came neutral middies, boxy blazers, and, most telling, a blunt, shoulder-grazing haircut unveiled at the Royal Christmas Carol service. Fashion writers called the shift pared-back maturity, but insiders read it as silent rebellion, a woman dimming her own spotlight to keep the peace at home. Publicly, nothing explosive happened. No scandals, no statements, yet the sum of these small fractures was impossible to ignore. And just as the press adjusted to this quieter, more careful Pippa, a simmering family feud threatened to blow the lid off her carefully managed silence. If paparazzi lenses chipped at Pippa's marriage, a very different spotlight, her outspoken sister-in-law, Vogue Williams, took a hammer to the remaining veneer. Vogue, an Irish TV host known for telling listeners exactly what she thinks on her hit podcast, married Spencer Matthews, James's younger brother, in 2018. From the start, insiders whispered that Vogue's candid humor clashed with Pippa's talent for elegant discretion, but the tension stayed private until the microphones rolled. During a February 2025 podcast episode, Vogue riffed on phony perfection in high society, never naming names, yet describing a woman whose resume sounded suspiciously Middleton. Listeners caught the shade, gossip sites clipped the quote, and social media spun a fresh narrative. Pippa, the polished English rose, versus Vogue, the straight-talking outsider. For James, the fallout was nightmare fuel, exactly the public circus he'd married to avoid. He hunkered down, blocking press calls. Pippa faced a harder choice: stay silent and look guilty, or clap back and ignite a full-blown feud. She chose silence. But silence can sound like surrender in a 24-hour news cycle. GB News splashed family rift deepens across their site. YouTube monetized every paused interaction into breakup clickbait. Behind closed doors, sources say dinners with the Matthews clan grew frostier than the champagne buckets. Vogue's quick jabs about royals, influencers, and wannabe posh types kept landing uncomfortably close to home. Pippa's instinct was damage control. Muted outfits, smaller gatherings, fewer public smiles, but each retreat only amplified the narrative that something was badly wrong. By spring, even casual watchers noted the shift. Vogue and Spencer posted sun-soaked snaps from Eden Rock. Pippa and James were nowhere to be seen. The contrast fanned rumors that the sisters-in-law had picked opposite corners of the ring, and James, stuck between blood and vows, couldn't mediate both. What began as a podcast quip had snowballed into a PR avalanche, burying whatever fragile truce remained in Pippa's marriage. Yet the true tipping point wasn't a feud or a headline. It was the slow burn identity crisis simmering just beneath Pippa's serene surface, and it was about to boil over. When the cameras finally panned away, Pippa stared into a quieter mirror and barely recognized the reflection. Her resume, once a mosaic of stylish lunches and society marathons, looked mismatched beside the 3 toddler toothbrushes lined up on the West London vanity. The lifestyle book Celebrate had fizzled on the bestseller list, a planned athleisure project stalled. Even her polished Instagram grid sat dormant, starved of the effortless sparkle that once sold magazines. Privately, she was wrestling a 3-headed beast: public expectations, marital compromise, and a gnawing sense that none of it felt entirely hers. The perfection that once won applause now felt like a scripted role, one where every line served someone else's storyline. Kate's serene Duchess image, James's low-profile comfort zone, even the press's evergreen headline, her royal hotness. In school runs and board book bedtimes, she craved something unscripted, something that didn't need perfectly angled paparazzi shots to prove it mattered. That longing seeped into everyday choices. She traded designer heels for scuffed Vea trainers, swapped glittering charity galas for parent-teacher Zooms, and let her famed glossy blowout air dry into loose waves. Friends whispered that she was paring back. Critics muttered that she'd lost her shine. Pippa simply called it breathing. But the harder she fought to claim her own identity, the clearer it became that the life she'd built, expertly staged, globally scrutinized, had no space for an unscripted middle chapter. The walls of curated perfection were closing in, and something would have to give. The only question left was whether she would quietly remodel those walls or blow them apart altogether. By late 2024, the couple's vanishing act had become its own internet franchise. When Pippa arrived solo to a September gala, no wedding ring, no James, YouTube gossip engines roared to life. Within days, videos titled "At 41, Pippa Middleton finally confirms why she divorced," and "Immediate split after this happened," clocked hundreds of thousands of views, each piling fresh, unverified insider claims atop the last. TikTok stitched 15-second montages of her muted outfits, voice-overed with solemn breakup ballads. Reddit sleuths time-stamped every public sighting, or lack thereof, and plotted them on color-coded spreadsheets. Even respectable outlets fed the frenzy. People covered the couple's footpath dispute on their £15 million estate, framing local pushback as evidence of domestic discord. The result was an echo chamber that grew louder than any official word. Algorithms rewarded speculation, not facts, and the absence of a palace-style press office left a vacuum clickbaiters were only too happy to fill. Each exclusive source contradicted the last. One blamed Vogue Williams, another blamed money, a third whispered about secret court papers, yet the cumulative effect was devastatingly consistent. Pippa and James are done. Meanwhile, James retreated deeper into silence, and Pippa's public schedule shrank to token appearances tied to children's charities. Reporters who once debated her hemlines now scrolled planning committee documents for clues. Drone footage of their Buckleberry grounds trended on X under newer Middleton split. In a digital age, the absence of proof became proof itself. By New Year's Day 2025, even casual royal watchers spoke of the marriage in the past tense. Still, no legal filings, no press statements, not even a carefully worded no comment. And in that roaring silence, one question echoed louder than the rumors. Would Pippa ever break character and tell her own story? The answer finally surfaced at a small charity Q&A in February, and what she revealed turned the internet uproar on its head. The answer arrived in the unlikeliest setting: a children's literacy fundraiser in early February 2025, tucked inside a modest church hall near Kensington. Reporters expected routine platitudes about bedtime stories. Instead, when a volunteer asked how she balanced so many perfect roles, Pippa paused, exhaled, and dropped the script. "Perfection looks peaceful on the outside," she said softly, "but sometimes you have to pick real peace instead." One sentence, calm, almost whispered, yet it detonated across the gossip sphere. Within hours, YouTube channels spliced the clip into thumbnails screaming, "Pippa confirms split. Peace over perfection" trended on X. Tabloids quoted unnamed friends who claimed papers had been signed weeks ago. YouTube. Behind the clickbait, a clearer picture emerged. Sources close to the Middletons said she'd already moved much of her day-to-day life to a smaller Berkshire property near her parents, choosing school runs over society dinners. James, ever private, remained in West London, dividing time between hedge fund meetings and country club solitude. There was no epic blow-up, just two parallel lives finally admitting they'd diverged. Even so, Pippa's revelation carried a quiet power. It reframed the narrative from scandal to self-preservation. Instead of the jilted wife or runaway socialite, she presented herself as a mother protecting her kids' calm and her own sanity. Overnight, fashion writers applauded her minimalist wardrobe as authentically mindful. Wellness influencers praised the glow of intentional living. The same spotlight that once scorched her suddenly felt for a moment warm. Yet for every supporter, skeptics lurked, digging for hidden settlements, custody clashes, or a secret new romance. Algorithms still reward chaos, and silence still sells. Pippa may have claimed peace, but the world hasn't stopped guessing what comes next. And the final twist in this saga, already in motion, could upend high society expectations all over again. Pippa Middleton's story began with a single dress that lit up the London sky and ends, at least for now, with a single choice whispered in a church hall: peace over perfection. She didn't flee a palace, topple a dynasty, or plunge into scandal. She simply stepped off the stage the world built for her, trading curated spotlights for the soft glow of an ordinary kitchen at school-run o'clock. In doing so, she exposed an uncomfortable truth at the heart of modern fame. The louder the applause, the harder it is to hear yourself think. Her journey reminds us that fairy tale images can hide silent fractures, that happily ever after is a headline, while happiness itself is a moving target you must chase on your own terms. What happens next? Insiders say she's brainstorming a low-key children's wellness venture. Rumor mills swear she'll resurface with a tell-all memoir. Skeptics predict she'll vanish entirely behind Buckleberry's hedges. Whatever path she chooses, one thing is certain: the woman once crowned her royal hotness has rewritten her title to something far rarer in a world addicted to spectacle: her quiet freedom. And if her next chapter proves anything like the last, the most shocking twist may be how peacefully it unfolds. Stay tuned.